community. This is Pastor Doug, and it's my honor and privilege to give you today's video devotion. And if you'd like to receive these devotions as well as the Bible passages that we're reading, just go to findcommunity.com/Bible reading, and you can have them sent to your inbox. I want to begin with the story that Max Lucado tells about a store that got broken into by a store owner's enemy. Now, the interesting thing is that nothing was stolen from the store, but all the price tags got rearranged. And so cheap things like bubble gum and plastic toys that were worth pennies had a price tag of thousands of dollars to them. And then expensive things like electronics or diamond jewels were like under $1. And he shares the story as a cautionary tale that there's an enemy that has switched the price tags in our reality too. And as a result, we believe that there's some things that are valuable, things that we spend a lot of time and energy and money on, when in the end, they actually have very little worth. And then there are those things that we think are utterly worthless, a waste of time, that are actually in the end the most precious of all. And Jesus the King came to teach us this in other lessons in today's passage found in Mark chapter 5, starting in verse 1. So if you have your Bibles, turn there. It goes like this. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he'd often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and he fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. Now a large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. And the demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." And so he gave him permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who'd been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and the people were amazed. That's, quite a story. We see a legion of demons possessing this guy who lived in a graveyard, and demons then jump into a herd of pigs that ended up jumping over a cliff and into the sea. It sounds like a great Halloween tale or one of those occult shows like Supernatural or like The Exorcist or The Shining. Well, one of the big themes from this passage is to show how big the kingship of Jesus is. And as we saw in yesterday's passage, Jesus is king over the wind and the waves and the natural elements of creation. And today we see that Jesus is king over the spiritual realm, over the demonic realm. Because Jesus just didn't cast out one demon, as we've seen in previous passages. He cast out a legion of demons. And a legion is a military term that means thousands upon thousands. But I think one of the main points in this passage that I want to focus on has to do with this poor man who was possessed. I mean, we don't know too much about the man. We don't know what happened, that thousands of demons would converge on his life and control him. But more than likely, we see that this man was powerful. He was a terror to his community. He was a menace to society. And I'm sure the people of this town saw this man as a problem that needed to be eradicated. His life was worth less than nothing to them. But Jesus the King saw the man differently. To Jesus, this man was of utmost importance. I mean, think about it. Jesus crossed the sea. Jesus went through a gale force storm. Jesus landed in Gentile territory, which, the Gerasenes were part of the Decapolis, 10 cities occupied primarily by Greeks and Romans, not really a friendly or safe place for Jewish people. And Jesus confronted and overcame an army, a legion of demons, in order to specifically save this one man. And while the rest of the town thought this man to be worse than worthless, Jesus the King saw him as one of infinite value. In fact, the herd of pigs that got tossed into the sea, 2,000 pigs, would be worth more than $1 million in today's money. And for Jesus, it was worth it to save this one man. Now, as a result, the people just kind of chased Jesus out of town. I mean, it seems strange because Jesus just saved and restored a life. But it was a life that they didn't think too much of. It was a life that cost them $1 million. And so they sent Jesus packing back across the lake. But that's not the end of the story. This man, now set free by Jesus, wanted to come with Jesus and be his disciple. But surprisingly, Jesus said, "No, I want you to stay where you are, and I want you to tell everyone what God has done for you." And so what did the man do? He obeyed Jesus. And as a result, throughout this region, Greeks and Romans alike, they all got to hear the good news of God. They were all impacted by the good news of Jesus Christ. And so for Jesus, this man really proved his worth, because his transformed life was a message of hope that impacted other people. His life and influence was worth much, much more than a few pork chops, some ham sandwiches, and barbacoa tacos, right? So a couple takeaways that we have from this passage. One is that we need to see people like Jesus did. We need to see people like Jesus does. I mean, there are people in your life and mine that we find as a bother, as a nuisance, as just a pain in the you-know-where. And as a result, we tend to judge them, or we tend to discount them. We don't think that they're worth our time or our money or our energy. But to Jesus the King, they are his children. Could it be that he wants us to see these people in a different way? Could it be that our hearts have been hardened towards these people and they need to be softened? The second thing we see in this passage is that we need to see ourselves as Jesus does. You need to see yourself as Jesus sees it. Now, you might have voices, you might have dark voices that want you to believe that you're worthless, that you don't measure up. And these dark voices also drive you to do destructive things in your life, like isolate yourself from community, or to be self-critical, or to despise who you are. Or these voices lead you and me to find our identity in the wrong places, like in our work, or in our security, or in our ambitions. And we end up living among the tombs. We end up settling for a life that's so much less than we could have. I want to tell you that Jesus the King sees you as his precious child. Jesus seeks you with the same determination and ferocity as he did with the man, that he will cross the seas, he will confront demons, he will go into strange lands just to get to you, to save you. Why? Because you are his treasured child. And just as he stilled the wind and the waves, Jesus wants to still the storms in your life. And just as he cast out the legion of darkness, so Jesus wants to set you free and to bring you into the light. You see, Jesus doesn't see you as an outcast or a throwaway. Jesus knows who you are, that you are a child of God. But even more than that, Jesus sees your potential. Jesus knows that your redeemed life can bring hope and inspiration to other people. Jesus knows that when you are operating on all cylinders, when you start living life the way life was meant to be lived, that you can be a game changer, just as this man became. See, the problem is that the enemy has switched the price tags on our reality. We live in a world that puts a high value on riches and fame and status and productivity. And as a result, some people are worth more and some people are worth less. And we live in a world that has things like pecking orders, that has caste systems, that where some lives matter more than others, and where some people can be seen as collateral damage. But Jesus the King sets the record straight. Jesus is the King who has power over nature. He has power over demons. He has power over disease. He has power over sin and brokenness. And this King says every person, including you, including me, including other people, even the ones that we don't like very much, that every person is created in the image of God, that every person has infinite value and unlimited potential, and that every person is a precious child of the King. So my friend, go and live as the King's child, and go and treat everyone else as one too.